Maybe you should pull the fucking trigger.
Pull the trigger.
The back of the iron, long rebound to George. Hollis Jefferson trying to guard him. George. Oh, it goes for Paul George. And a chance at a three-point play on a flip to the rim.
You know, in Europe, it doesn't happen as much because the athleticism is not like the NBA. It's a great move there.
Harry McCullough, 1 Bronze Star, 2 meritorious service medals, 4 Navy and Marine Corps commendation medals.
And now instead of picking, Paul needs to come get it back.
Here's George.
It was well run.
He'd like a couple more as George in traffic. Got to the rim with a left hand. Timeout, Chicago. Still 10 seconds to shoot inside the final minute.
I gotta let him play. It's my best guy. I gotta let him play. Gotta let him go.
A 30-point night for Paul George.
Indiana 0 of 9 in the quarter. George using the screen from Turner, and he sticks it. 85-83, 12 points for Kilpatrick. George, the crossover, the fend-off, and the bucket.
A little chicken wing there.
From 7, off to Paul George. Marcus Morris up in his face, screen from Turner. George with a shot, and he sticks it. That's a triple. Tough shot. George has Reggie on him. Here's the turn and gun, rips the net. 10 already for Paul George. 50 seconds to play in the half. George over John Lure, fires it, fills it. George, screen from Turner. George a good handle, steps back and guns, and it goes. Paul George serving notice. Reggie guarding Paul George. George to the baseline. George to the paint. Flips it up and fills it up.
Pretty unstoppable, huh?
Paul George with a screen from Turner. Sees some daylight, gets to the lane, drains the deuce, and draws the foul. Paul George over Reggie, fires and fills it. That's a deuce. It's now 116 to 104.
Will, who has carried this team since moving over to that 2-guard.
Seraphin in the starting lineup in place of Miles Turner. Here comes PG. Rondo to beat, lays it in. It was 7 straight points for C.J. McCollum. And now George puts up a tough shot, got it, and a chance for a 3-point play.
It really wasn't. He caught it. He just, no, you don't want to move. He caught it, just turned it away.
Now George over Lillard for 2-13 in overtime against this Portland team. Trailblazers have won 2 straight. That's George, 33. 11 seconds to play. Pacers up 3. George pulls up against Harkless.
Big rebound here.
Yes! George dunks it!
Needed some clarification. 66-62. George a 3. Yes. Booker is just wiping something from his eye. Must have taken a shot. George crossing over, and that is special.
Whisks it out to PG-13. Used to be PG-24, but PG-13 sounds a heck of a lot more marked.
They can disappoint you by missing passes, and then they can make you happy by catching them and doing something with it. And I said, you have to be balanced.
31 gives Indiana an additional low post threat. Here's PG-13.
That's too easy.
Major disparity. Paul George nearly stripped 3 games and scores.
Bro, he's going to be aggressive here. This is what you call winning time.
Indiana by 6, their largest lead. Approaching the midway point of the 4th. George turns and fires.
Yeah, he didn't get
Young with the Indiana rebound. George has had a couple of nice passes, tries to draw a foul, but scores anyway. Minutes at Bankers Life Fieldhouse. Indiana 8 of 14 as George gets to the rim and scores.
Well, he's able to get to the front of the rim, Chris, and as long as he's able to do that.
Drafted by the Boston Celtics. George guarded by Harris. Step back at the free throw line.
He really does not feel that Harris can do anything with it.
Well, he didn't play in each of the last 4 games. Again, they've had some injuries, and that's George. He lost Harris. He's in double figures with 10. Again, all of these teams are capable of winning, and you've got to be ready to go. Here is George, free throw line jumper, and the Pacers have a 7-point lead. A lot of people will step up and help out in that regard.
I don't think there's any question about that. And well, it should be.
George in transition, perfect on the three. Shot for Miles Turner, that's his fifth. It matches a season high.
Oh, I doubt if he's. No, you're too late. You're too late, dude. There've been others that try to get him. That's why he got put more prominently in the lineup here by Sean Marks and Kenny Atkinson from the Brooklyn Nets. I'm looking for efficiency and consistency.
Paul George. Again, the Pacers are in the penalty if they can get there. George for three. Second of the night for PG. 1 points. Teague has a double-double for the 7th time this year. Paul George working on a 24-point night. 2 more
for the makeup of this team.
Pacers won by 17 here in November as Paul George and the Pacers start with a 5-0 lead. Their leader at 24.5 points per game. That is 10th in the league. George, a 3. 2 of them for Paul George.
He just has to play with that, like that, unabashed enthusiasm, and whatever happens, happens. And I thought he lost that for a little bit. He had to get hacked on that one.
Well, he forces another turn.
Got to go to work.
And George, jumper, he knew it.
Yeah, well, he also was hearing, it's funny because just as he caught the ball.
Butler has 13. They've gone head-to-head. Now in the post is George. Over Butler, and he gets 2 more. 16 for PG. A couple of minutes off the bench against Brooklyn the other night.
I saw that as well, Chris.
George for 3. 21 for Paul George.
Getting long rebounds. They get those 50-50 balls. Here's Stuckey. He gets it going. This is
Jeff Teague against Reggie. Paul George launches and buries another from +2 assists for Glenn Robinson. John Lure wraps it around to Andre. Hey, George. Got Ish on him. Gets closer, turns, fires, fills it. And that's what you didn't want to see. One of those shots drop for Paul George. You know what good shots are for you, and that's a good shot for Kentavious. Paul George to the lane. Triple teamed and somehow scored.
Ellis double outside to George. Drives in line right. Fall away jumper.
Second time against the Trailblazers. Ellis leaves it off for Jefferson. Now George for a 3. And that
is young.
George turns the corner, explodes, and scores.
He made a heck of a shot because they weren't switching. He laid it off on the backboard.
8th time this year, a 60-point half against the Pacers. Paul George with his second 3. He has 10.
Ball watching.
Now George has it back the other way. We're inside a minute, and his 3 is good.
Yeah, that's where you want it. Oh, I thought he could have thrown that up to Paul.
Teague finds Ellis. Ellis in the corner to George for another 3. Yeah. PG got it. He's got 16. 30th in a 131-109 win.
Very good job by Paul. It's called a flare because he's not accustomed to having to make 3-point shots. He can, but that's not what he's accustomed to doing.
Thaddeus Young has come back in. Paul George, the jumper. He took Lillard deep into the paint. 24 for PG. Tie it or take the lead.
Right there. Yeah, don't go any further.
Great recognition. No one steps up. You go to the basket.
Bogdanovich goes down. George, open look at a 3. Paul George. For Lopez, that was a big storyline coming out of game 1. George using the screen, set by Turner. Lopez there trailing on defense, and George still creating, loses it. George forces his way to the bucket and scores.
Yeah, you really have to.